Could you tell us a bit about yourself and your story?
Yeah, of course. So, hi everyone, I'm Athena. I am currently a podcast host myself. So, I have a podcast called Findingmyfit, and I'm also a writer. So, I write for various different websites and that kind of thing. In terms of my story, so honestly, I could be sat here for hours trying to tell all the ins and outs of my story, but I'll try and keep it nice and short. So, I suffered with anorexia for about 7 to 8 years, and I suffered between the age of 13 and 20/21. I'm now 26, so I've been recovered for about 5 years.
Mhm.
Um, and I guess taking it right back to the start and talking about what kind of started my eating disorder in the first place. I don't really know exactly what caused me to develop an eating disorder, but when I was about 12, I decided I wanted to lose a bit of weight. I wasn't really, really overweight, but I definitely carried, a little bit of, they call it puppy fat,
Yeah.
just a little bit, the kind of fat that you would probably lose as you go through puberty,
Mhm.
basically. So yeah, I just wanted to lose a bit of weight, and I started to exercise a bit more. So I bought a Nintendo Wii Fit. I don't even think they're a thing anymore, but back in the day, everybody used one of those, and I use that every day. So I started using that every day, and I started reducing my food intake, and the weight started to come off, and I felt really good. And I think things just kind of developed from there. Like, I just started to become very obsessive with the exercise and the restriction. And, I kept just wanting to do more exercise and restrict even more food. And it got to the point where I did end up developing an eating disorder. And, you know, some people can go on a diet, lose weight, and they're fine. They don't develop an eating disorder.
Mhm.
I'm not really sure why I developed an eating disorder after going on a diet. I think it might be due to maybe my, personality. I'm quite a perfectionist. I like to overachieve, I like to push myself, and it may be due to that. So yeah, basically my mum took me to the doctor, and they diagnosed me there with an eating disorder, and I got put into hospital on a children's ward. And that would be the first of 5 different hospital stays. So I had 3 hospital stays on pediatric wards, so on children's wards. And then my final 2 hospital admissions were in specialist mental health hospitals, specialist eating disorder units. Um, and I mean, I wouldn't really say any of my hospital admissions really helped me very much. The focus was very much on, eat more, that's it. There was no sort
Right.
of psychological help, no, not very much therapy, that kind of thing. So I wouldn't say personally for me, hospital admissions helped. But when I got to about 19 or 20, I was at uni, and I was having a good time. I'd made some new friends. Um, I'd got my first boyfriend, and I was just having a really good time. And it was a good place in my life. And I think that really is what helped me to finally recover and realize that there is more to life than just food and exercise. Um, so yeah, that's kind of a really, really brief summary. I've tried to keep it quite short. Um, but like I said, there's so much I could talk about in terms of this. But yeah, that's my story.
No, that's really really interesting. Because first of all, when you mentioned the we fit, because this is something that I do want to touch on just a little bit. The we fit was very much at the time sold as a fitness thing, focusing on weight loss, wasn't it? As in, we had one because I'm, of a certain generation that I actually thought it was cool when I bought one as an adult. But I remember you designed your little avatar, and you had to put your height and your weight and all that sort of stuff into that thing.
Yeah, yeah, you did.
So was it every time? Did you do that like compulsively as well? That every time you logged onto the Wii Fit, you had you had a new weight, or did you weigh yourself compulsively as well, or was that not part of what you were going through?
So yeah, I think the Wii Fit did weigh you. I think it weighed you every time you went on there. So for me,
Hmm.
that would have been every day. For
Yeah.
me personally, I I have been weight was obviously very much like in my mind,
Hmm.
but I wasn't really someone to weigh myself every single day
Right.
because even at a young age, I knew that weight did fluctuate a bit based on like the day, the
Hmm.
amount of water you've eaten, the food you've eaten, that kind of thing. Sorry, the amount of water you've drank, the amount of food you've eaten. Um, I mean, I was very much obsessed with. I think for me, it was more I was obsessed with over exercising and
Right.
being able to like go for the whole day without eating, basically. And it wasn't so much about the weight for me; it was more about sort of being able to push my body to the extremes in a way.
Okay.
Um, and that manifested in me over exercising and not eating throughout the day,
Mm.
basically.
Was that because that's really interesting? Because when I think when what I know, the little I know about eating disorders, is that the recovery used to be, I'm not sure it still is, but the recovery used to be very much a weight centered approach, kind of like what you were saying, getting people to eat more and gain a bit of weight, and then all will be well with the world. But if you're saying that weight for use for yourself wasn't that much of a focus, then I suppose by definition that approach wouldn't really be effective for you, would it?
No, I mean, to be honest, that approach isn't effective for anybody with an eating disorder
Right.
because even if that person is obsessed with their weight, at the end of the day, an eating disorder is a mental health condition.
Hmm.
It's mental health that's the issue, not physical health. So going into a hospital, and again, this is why it didn't work for me and why it probably doesn't work for a lot of people, is the fact that when you go into a hospital, they're very much focused on right, this person needs to put weight on because they're very underweight. And I understand that that is important. That person is very underweight and they need to put weight on, yes. But at the same time, they also need to they it's their mind that's the issue. It's their mental health that needs to be worked on if they truly want to recover from an eating disorder. You can't just like force somebody to eat more, then they put weight on and then they're better. It doesn't really work like that. So I think, yeah, physical weight is important, but it's not the whole story.